Right, from the department's perspective, to be perfectly honest, we don't convey property rights. So we can address, or we can look at a request, you know, if you don't need a permit, then you don't need a permit from us, you can do it. If you do need a permit, you can get a permit on your neighbor's property if they're agreeable to it. So we don't convey property rights.
But there's trees that have fallen because of what somebody else had said, that the ground is saturated. And, you know, it's not up to me to clean it, but now it's starting to look a little shabby back there. Thank you.
Okay, Dave.
We also have an issue with that purple Asian board, it's killing all the ash trees. They're all dead, and from from my property up from there to Yakumowski's all the way up, they're falling over and they're coming across the street. You can see they're just right across.
I can at least speak, though, for the people in Sherwood Village, that they do a very good job of going back to where they can at least reach and clearing it up, whether it's pulling air conditioners out from 2011, bicycles, taking down debris. They do a very good job. So I know you're handing out pamphlets, and we all appreciate it, how we can do more. But just so you know that the members of the community are doing what they can now, and that's why we're waiting for you guys to help us.
Okay. In the back.
My name is Jim Kistler. I'm going to give you guys this set of drawings I had. Dave Ullman, the surveyor, did this for me. I owned 9 acres from the end of Sherwood Village back over to the end of Orr Road. It started Orr Road. So Kinney Run comes onto my property, turns right, goes up 100 yards, turns left, and goes all the way up the back. And it's a mess. When I bought the property from American Legion, and I knew it was wet, but I realized how bad it was back there. And I recently clear cut 3 acres of dead wood. Just rotted tree stumps and stuff falling down. It's a mess. I'm just getting started. It's costing me a small fortune to get this stuff out of here. And my plan is to hopefully be able to put some fill back in here and some grass and some oak trees and some willow trees and make it a park back there. But it's standing water is terrible. The flies, the snakes, the turtles. It's a mess. And I don't, you know, I agree. Some of this release is all fine and dandy, but I like to see that long-term plan turn into a short-term plan and fix it at the beginning. It just needs fixed. So my name and number is on that drawing. You can open it up, and you can see that in the 40s, when that property, that was going to be the west end of Bloomsbury. There's probably 400 home plot sites on that. And they had a plan for that.
Without looking, is that property limited to Scott Township or Bloomsbury?
Yes, it's all Scott Township.
Scott Township. Okay.
It was the west end or east end of Bloomsbury extension that was built at the time.
Okay.
So there was history there going back decades. And it just, hopefully someone can address it.
Any other comments? Yes.
Rachel chewed on my ear way back when in the very beginning in 2011. She was actually a student of mine when all this happened, and I saw some of the horror and stuff that she had to go through. There's quite a few people that I've noticed that there's a couple of comments, and could see people's eyes welling up. She asked me to come over there because she wanted to show me. I've never seen it firsthand myself. And as her professor, she always leans on me. I know every time it rains, because she's texting me, hey, how much rain are we going to get? How much is it going to flood? And as you can see right now, she's getting distraught. She's, you know, every time it rains, she has to go to her house because she doesn't know how much it's going to flood. So when I went over there, it had been 5-6 weeks since the last rain, and there were still puddles sitting all. I couldn't even go in there because I didn't come prepared with boots. I had to stop. She could go mudding through that stuff. This is 6 weeks after it stopped raining. As I personally did a little bit more research, I know I'm not a geologist, and I'm going to kind of bend on your ear because you can probably, you know, get an idea what I'm talking about. If you look at that map over there, you follow Kinney Run, it goes all the way up 5th Street. There's all new developments, all new shopping centers, and all kinds of stuff. The water permeation is less than half. That's where the root of your problem is. You get so much rainwater coming down through there. When I went to go see her, that 6 weeks before, there was 3 inches of rain. The river only got up to 14 feet.
We were
and
kayaking.
Yeah, you were kayaking out of the back door. Yeah. The problem is there's so much water coming down and there's no way to stop it now. So yeah, you can clear all that stuff out, but where's all the water coming from? And is there a way to redirect where it goes? So.
And I'm sure that long range still.
Yeah, that's where I think the root of your problem is you have to figure out where it's coming from and see if there's alternate ways for it to go, because you have a huge area that floods right into that one small spot, and it just can't absorb that amount of water in that short amount of time.
Okay. Behind you, sir.
Hi Dave, thanks, Kirk Gilbert. I'm with a lot of these folks in Sherwood East, and we did have an eye-opener in 2011, like most of you. But I want to piggyback on what you're saying, and I know, Jared, you talked about it, most of you gentlemen. But what I've noticed, I've been there since '97, I was the second house in Sherwood East. And my question would be, since Lionsgate has developed, I mean, has there been a study of what Lionsgate has produced in our Kinney Run, you might as well say we're here in this little Kinney Run Valley, has there been a study of what Lionsgate has produced? Plus, there's some new editions of Lionsgate going on now currently, and I know Lionsgate was a little bit of a thorn in Scott Township's side there for a while, but to me, and you know, Jared, you talked about it, sometimes dredging, yep, is good, but then you got to look at what the source is, and I'm thinking, you know, yes, the source needs to be looked at, and how much can we really take from all this development? Is the Lionsgate water going elsewhere? Is it coming all our way? Because, I mean, we can only really, like you say, deal so much. But again, this town hall meeting is way overdue. I'm glad you put it together, and I appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else does as well. So, thank you very much.
I want to throw one other thing real quick. The 2001 study, I'm sure, is fine, but I'm sure that in the 17 years since then, a lot has changed. And yeah, it might be a good baseline, but I bet you any money a new one's going to need to be made. Yeah.
That's going to be up to the experts as to, you know, we know what the problems are, right?
Yeah.
We know where it is. It's been that way for years. I guess to address the concern about, you know, Lionsgate, as I said earlier, the new model now is to keep the water on property. So that's why we get developers in this room all the time complaining, how come it's costing me so much to develop? You make me put these, you know, detention basins in. That's exactly why. We got to keep the water on their property so it doesn't flow down and become someone else's problem. So that's the new concept now, is anytime there's a new development, we make sure, and Todd's the one in charge of that, we make sure that the rainwater stays on their property long enough that it percolates back into the ground and is not having any more water than it previously did before development was on that site. I don't know if you want to add to that, or did I get it?
All right.
I have a question. I know everybody, and you guys have been fantastic with telling us, you know, we're looking for short-term resolution and long-term plans. And I'm not asking for a specific date and time that this is all going to occur, but what do you mean when you say a short-term resolution? Are you looking for something that's going to take effect in 3 months, 6 months, and what is long-term? Is long-term a decade from now, or?
What my goal, and I'll answer, and the town and township can chime in if they like. My goal, my staff's goal was to do this, and then try and get ahead of good weather when their resources might be available to do something that would address it immediately with what I talked about, with garbage or debris, or, you know, finding pockets of standing water that are being blocked in for whatever reason.
Well, MJ had a very good idea, and we found that we were extremely grateful for the people who came to our rescue when we lost everything in the 2011 flood. I mean, we were down to the studs. We lost everything in the house. We had to take walls, floors, the whole shebang out. Volunteers. We have some awesome volunteers in this community. Bloomsburg, Scott Township, we have the university. I will never say anything negative about frats or sororities again, ever. Because these were the kids that came not knowing us. Most of them were from out of state. They came in, they were ripping up floors and knocking down walls and carrying garbage and hauling garbage. But we've got Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. We've got people who are always working on community projects. We've got the university itself.
You got realtors.
Realtors.
We do that sort of thing.
So as far as manpower goes, yes, we'll need the professionals in there to guide and direct, but I am positive that if you put a call out, a plea out for volunteers and make people aware of what is needed, you will get a response. I have no doubts.
I know you mentioned bringing in the Boy Scouts, and obviously, like, we're a little bit younger, so it wouldn't be a problem for us to lift some of the heavy stuff, but especially for our elder neighbors who, they shouldn't be out there lugging in logs that just travel down the road. If we can get them in there to at least help them, at the very least, it'd be grateful.
Good comment. Any others? Well, before I conclude the meeting,
Yeah,
I-
Oh,
he has
hold on.
He has one.
I got one question.
yeah,
We had a gentleman come to our house. When we bought the house, it was not in the flood zone. We went through the maps and everything, or else the bank probably would have given us a loan. But we was not in the flood zone. This man came around and told us that we'd have to apply for an elevation certificate, which is $800, and then they'll base it after that, after the elevation certificate. Can you tell me what that encompasses?